Gentlemen, it is time to take a look at Acropolis 4's Tribunal Stage number 4. And I know we're not at 3-4s yet, but I hope you'll still join me in taking a look at this fantabulous event where we have a bunch of best of fives, a single elimination bracket, one player will qualify directly to the Battlement stage, and actually the field is kind of open. Let's take a look at our participants, but first, before we even do that, let's take a look at our maps, because the maps have no resemblance to anything that we have seen before. Not a single returning map from Tribunal number 3, as I will show you in a moment here. Acid Test, Crisis Vector, Foster Force. No, forget all of these maps. They're all gone, replaced with new maps or newer maps that have certainly not been seen before, such as Gilded Wall, a port of Golden Wall from Starcraft 2, done by Jujuk, and Monazite, a Cannoli-sponsored, a Cannoli-created island map. Very cool, very cool. Of course, Tesseract, but a new version makes a debut. It actually, this mini-map even is a little bit old. It's got the high ground and such. That's pretty cool. We got Quasar Quartet. Saberhand is a port of, what was it? Blade Runner by Minerals, that was done by me. And then, of course, we have like the port of Sylphid, 3-spawn map done in the Ice Tile set by Biddy and Jujuk. Magnetron, a port of Tokamak from StarCraft 2, done by yours truly. Microglia, done by Biddy. Impulsion, done by Biddy. Corrosion, done by Biddy. So there you have it. Quasar was also Biddy, by the way. So very cool map pool there. Just wanted to quickly elucidate that because I think it's cool to have completely new maps. We will be seeing games on, I'm sure, all of these maps at some point, but believe it or not, we'll be seeing games on Monazite today. I already saw in the replays that we have Monazite games, so people did not ban that map. I'm happy about that. As we scroll a little bit further down, we are going to see the participants here. So I can go ahead and let you guys know. First of all, while we did have a nice clean number of players, we had 12 players sign up for this bracket so we could have top 4 be seeded into a playoff spy. Listen, I need to tell you guys for sure, for real, Shopkeeper Dog was not actually able to participate, so he did end up falling out of the tournament, which means the winner of the opening match that we end up taking a look at here, the winner of this match will proceed directly to the semifinals. He gave us late notice. We had already started the tournament and gotten some games played by the time he gave us notice, so can't be, recalculating the bracket after that, you know what I mean? But we have some new folks here, some newer faces, I should say. Obviously, HonMonO has been from the StarCraft 2 space, comes in as a little bit of an unlikely hero, but, he's the only pro participating in this bracket, so hopefully he can do well. He's up against Godweat. And by the way, this is the first Tribunal, of course, that features the Ascozi. Dog lived in Godweat will be playing as Ascozi. Shopkeeper Dog is sort of seat-warming here until the next one leapfrogs over him, but it was always cool to see him in these Tribunals. Thunderslaps is our new player here, debuting in Acropolis, any form of Acropolis, be it a Tribunal or anything else. This is his first showing, so I'm excited to see him in action. He's going up against Kasuga in the first round, and we also have, of course, some names that we've seen plenty of times before. Neblime, Shambler, Art of Turtle, Smarty Cakes, Ramen, Cannoli make up the rest of the bracket. So I am looking forward to those matches, and I hope that you are too. We obviously have some of the participants of these matches are even showcasing in the chat. I saw Shambler earlier and Godweat earlier, so of course they are going to be doing some gaming. So with that bracket in mind, let me just remind you guys that we are going to be starting things off here with our first matchup of Godweat versus HonMonO. So I say, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen, and see what is behind our first door. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed that immediately as we get in here, Korea fighting, Canada apologizing, blame Canada. Yeah, that's a good one, HonMonO. That is an excellent idea. Exactly what you want to be doing. Yes, says Godweat, who is our purple Ascozi. Oh, Dark Lavender, in fact, in the top left of Corrosion for our opening matchup here. And HonMonO is our orange Terran in the bottom right. I have a feeling that with the Radix coming out, but not being power built, but a second Radix being made, this is signaling a little bit of a, maybe middle of the road timing, but still a little bit on the early side. The Ascozi are a race of cybernetic lizards that have decided to augment themselves and try to leave their biology behind, and they do so by way of many many epic things, including being able to jump to their allies or transfer the momentum of incoming damage into momentum for themselves, both in healing and in movement speed, depending on the unit, of course. Hey, HonMonO's doing something a little bit different, though. HonMonO is going for fulcrums. Huh. That's interesting. So HonMonO does not typically play a mech-based style. HonMonO typically goes for bio, lots and lots of bio, especially Cyprians. And then if he's versus Zerg, he builds Savants. He's really a big fan of that. And he was starting to find some value versus Zeke in a show match recently, even with that kind of build. So I feel like the fact that he's going for Fulcrum here, I wonder if he's given up on that, or if he has some other ideas. Either way, we will be seeing the Radixes start to churn out missionaries, the first of which is on the way. It has that ability that I alluded to earlier, where I said that you take incoming damage and turn it into healing and movement speed. That's called Impact Dissipation. And it will be showcased here for a moment. HonMonO pushing out with his Vulture, laying a couple of lobotomy mines, and he is going to attempt to see where he can go with that. Looks like he's actually going to be right on top of the lobotomy mine. But, well, I don't know. I mean, Godweat's not going to draw too much closer. So he'll decide to abandon that for now. More Fulcrums on the way, but both of these Fulcrums are idle because he wants to go for Scrapyard off of only 2 Vultures. Now, typically this would be seen as a pretty greedy play. I guess he wants to go into Mass Blackjack. In the head-to-head, missionaries would lose to Blackjacks, but you have to focus fire, or you would want to focus fire anyway. A Gauntlet is on the way, being power built with 3 workers. You can power build with up to 5 workers for a SCOZ, for reference. Something to keep in mind. We do have a bunch of Vultures. Just sort of, well, not a bunch, a pair, in fact. A pair of Vultures scooping up there. And it will be a 4th Fulcrum with presumably a whole lot of Blackjacks coming in, indeed. So let's see what is behind this door. By the way, I did do a little bit of a tweak with UI for replays. It will obviously say like as a word related to what's happening here, but you can also mouse over it in your replay viewer now, which you couldn't do before. So I did end up allowing that. There is indeed going to be a little bit of info because, you know, if you see a unit that you haven't seen before as a newer player or whatever, you can mouse over and it'll actually tell you what the unit is. So I feel like that's good. So a bunch of Blackjacks are now, you know, earmarked over here. He's being pretty safe. It looks to me like, I don't know. You know what it looks like to me? It looks like to me like HonMonO is expecting drops, expecting some kind of harassment, and doesn't really recognize any potential power push he might be able to do here. Now, Godweat's going to go for the expand, which HonMonO has not done here. And we are going to get some Matadors out. Now, I think the Matadors are going to be pretty hard for Godweat to contend with, just because they have 2 armor, and then when they're facing the source of their attacker, they get 4 armor. Guys, the Missionary deals 2x4 damage, so 2 attacks of 4 damage each with 0 armor pen, which means if they're targeting the Matador, they're reduced to 1 damage each hit, so they're doing 2 damage to this thing. Because it can't reduce it to 0 damage, which it would do if allowed to, if that wasn't a gameplay rule. So while the Vulture is initially tagged, one of them going down, you know, the missionaries are not going to be able to do a lot of damage to the Matadors. That's the bottom line. If the Matadors deploy, it's even worse, although I guess they can't catch the missionaries, so there is that. But if they deploy, you don't even need to be facing the missionary. You can be surrounded by them. They'll all still be doing 2 damage. Pretty big ball of Scrapyard units. Only 1 Vulture left, but does it really matter? Right about now, it feels like maybe the answer is no. Missionaries moving forward. Going to be wandering right into that lobotomy mine, but only one of them getting popped. Other ones get cleared. The Vicars are going to be able to slow individual targets down and do a little bit of, you know, controlled splash damage. But again, it doesn't matter because the Vicars are not in enough number to actually kill the Matadors, and all the missionaries are all dead. So the Vicars by themselves would have limited utility versus the Blackjacks because they'd be able to start spreading that damage. And when the Blackjack gets dropped below half HP, it will be moving slower, attacking slower, just worse for its stats, basically, worse for its cost. And immediately you can see Godweat doing what he needs to do, power building grandstands with the intention of using them for defense. His army is moving further towards his natural, though. He's not, you know, even trying to drag HonMonO's attention away. Now he's doing that with that 1 Vicar. It's not going to be very successful, however. Grandstand will be able to finish number 1, but the number 2 is already going to be brought down, and there's the deployment of those Matadors where they can attack faster. All the while, to add insult to injury, they are rending the armor. It doesn't really matter for the Blackjack as much, but you know, it's just one extra status effect. Godweat is being, you know, pushed back by, and it does feel like he needs to evacuate his pilgrims in this position, if he even, maybe he's just not even going to. He had a light worker advantage. HonMonO is a little bit all in here, and there are, 6 radixes or 5 radixes here with a Cypher coming up, indicating, I don't know, mimics for the armor end, probably? Or armor pen, I should say, armor pen boast. But, I mean, we see that writing on the wall kind of here, isn't it? I don't think HonMonO is going to be relenting anytime soon. You can see him trying to be held at the held at the pass at an arm's length. There you go. I got everything mixed up together. But unfortunately, I think there's not much left to mix for Godweat. He's losing everything. You know what? Canada should apologize. You know what I'm saying? Canada versus Korea. When I had this in mind, this type of matchup, I was thinking of like, I don't know, Flash versus Hit 'em Up in Cosmonarchy. You know what I mean? That would be Canada. That's the Korea versus Canada matchup I want to see. HonMonO rocking up here as the very marginal upper seed versus Godweat. Number 8 versus number 9 here. GG. Godweat will be conceding that first game, and that was, of course, his opponent's map pick. I can reveal to you guys as we get a little bit deeper into this series and start things off in opener number 1 that our second map will be on Monazite. I can't wait to see that island map, and neither can you, which is why we're going right there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game 2 now of Godweat versus HonMonO. This is... oh, Let's Fighting Love. Okay, well, this is going to be on Monazite. This... I am very interested. Goo Goo Gaga. That's my man. HonMonO in the bottom right is going to be our Periwinkle Terran. And Godweat in the top left appears to be... Cordovan? Cordovan Ascosi going for a function first. Wait. Okay, never mind. That does kind of make sense if you want to do like some kind of rove move or something. So, Monazite, an island map where... everything but the mains, I think, is valid terrain. Maybe this bottom left area is an island. No, even that is pathable to... yeah. So the island is just the mains. Everything else is the low ground. And for a while, the Ascosi were really not favored on Monazite, precisely because it was really challenging for them to tech to air. They needed not just a function or a... what's the other one? The radix, but... they also needed the Cypher or the Gauntlet, the sort of tech relays, if you will, for the Ascosi. And HonMonO is just going to, of course, he's just going to make a ministry. Beautiful. I love it. It seems like HonMonO does know that this is a, an island map, so that's good. I think I picked the wrong one. Well, he's not, maybe he means they banned the wrong one. This is Godweat's pick. And I think Godweat even, am I correct in, I mean, he's in the chat. Ascosi means disgust, yes, in Spanish. Oh, Ascosi. I think you have to say it completely differently, but yeah. I believe that Godweat here is playing initially, forgetting that it was an island, because at least I remember reading that at some point. Maybe he can clarify in the chat. Yes, he did not know it was an island when he picked it. He just said so in chat. So there you go. The rove is out, and it will be escorted by an emissary. So this is the big balance adjustment that came in for Ascosi, not specifically because of this map, but it helps on this map in particular because island maps are now a possibility for them a little bit more than they were before, due to the fact that a function or a radix will give them access to the Cosmoscope, which they can use for air units. At first, that means that they can go straight to Cosmoscope, but only train the initial 2 units, which are the Helion and the Emissary. But you'll need tech centers in order to unlock, of course, the Gauntlet for the Tirade, the Cypher for the Inkblot, which is also a pretty good one. I imagine on island maps, Cypher for Inkblot is probably pretty damn good. But I suppose we'll find out together in this very match. Now, HonMonO has landed his extra base. He's adding fulcrums, and a star pad is coming up behind that. So let's see what he's going to end up doing. It looks like Cyclops to start things off with here. Well, meanwhile, the rove drop is being prepared. We have a bunch of roves here, and the emissary is halfway complete. Radixes are coming online soon. No tech development for Godweat, just the air. That's it. It's all production structures. That's all he's got so far. All right, here's the emissary. Now, the funny thing about the emissary, okay, he's going to go ahead and start unloading over here for the purpose of building an extra base. One thing, by the way, I noticed about this map is that Kenobi decided not to have town center markers for the mains. And, you know, he's got Townsend and Marcus for other bases, which is just interesting. I think that's probably a stylistic decision or something. You know, somebody's just like, yeah, you don't need it because you spawn there. So, you know, my thought is always, what if I lose my main and I don't know where to build the Nexus again? Huh. Anyhow, the Trojan is halfway complete. This will be a Cyclops drop, and it does feel like, I mean, the roves are on the low ground. So I guess the emissary is doing something else? You know, one thing you can do is you can go ahead and unload your missionaries and then jump to them with the roves. So that might be what Godweat is planning. You can't jump to an air unit right now. I say right now because that might change later. But obviously if the air unit is over impassable terrain and you try to jump and there's not like good calculations for that, what would happen to the units? They just start decolliding in the middle of the water or the cliffs or something? You know, like, come on, guys. I can't be doing that. Now, with this Trojan incoming, it will narrowly be missed, it looks like. Godweat did not notice that, or didn't pan over. However, he does have a grandstand in the mineral line, another one assembling inside his production area, and the landlock in the back base there is going to be pretty legit. So as the Cyclops drop is going to start to be heckled here. Well, I guess the Pilgrims are still going to be able to do pretty good damage in this position. Do we have anything else coming out here? I mean, the roves are waiting to go, but I didn't see if the... Where did the emissary go? Oh, it's now moving across. It's flying across. Having 6 missionaries in it. Okay, so he's planning on cliff jumping. That's what he's doing right here. I actually kind of wonder if you couldn't cliff jump on this side and then appear on the other side. Collision jokes or whatever, pretty funny. Now he's going to go ahead and unload. This extremity was not watched by HonMonO. So that feels a little bit interesting. It does look like this landlock will be at least interrupted, if not killed. And there's the jump! The roves have made it up the cliff. Exactly what I always imagined when I made the Ascozi. But the Cyclops are getting pretty good spread damage. Only problem is as the Masons get pulled and the Cyclops DPS starts to evaporate, this does not look good for HonMonO. I don't know how he's ever going to actually kill these units. It does look like he shut down the expansion temp. He's going to need to come back home with those Cyclops. He's got Madrigals coming. If he can get like 6 of those, he can shut this down pretty easily. But those are expensive units, and he's not actually mining with many units here. Canceling out what was ever on that low ground. And now the Cyclops raiding the Radix. Well, I guess he might be able to start hampering the production a little bit. 1 Madrigal being deployed. I don't know how you're possibly going to deal with all of these. The healing, though. You're just spreading the heal on everything. If only he had 2 at one time. Oh, what a heartbreaker. I mean, he can unload, but he doesn't want to give up the Palladium, right? That's a really big deal. He just made another Trojan as well. I don't know that that was the best move. You can see now, he's trying to see if he can cycle forward here with his Trojan, but it is not going to happen. The roves will bring it down. Now the Madrigal's deploying with 2 of them. I think this will be enough to clear out this bottom squad. Well, the Vultures come out too and help soften things up. So, okay, we're all safe and sound. HonMonO with a 7-worker deficit. The emissary's still at large. Some combat units available, but HonMonO does have that extra base, and that was canceled for Godweat. So I think as long as HonMonO's macro is on point here, I think we can actually say this is relatively even. Big problem here is that Godweat has a humongous bank. He's going to drop another Radix to replace the one that was destroyed by Cyclops earlier. That is one thing about the Ascozi structures. They are not the tankiest. Now he's going to go ahead and scale up his biotic production again. Adding more missionaries, more roves. This is a funny game. I don't really know who's slated to win this one, but I mean, like, looking at the way that this works so far, I wouldn't hate being in HonMonO's position. It's just a question of how he's going to navigate it from here. Lobotomy mines on the extremis of his base makes a lot of sense, but I would love a watchdog because the emissaries themselves are not the most durable units. They do kind of demand micro and attention. I guess that's the idea behind the Madrigals, is you can just snipe them, but I'm still a little bit nervous because this is going to be a 4 rove, 4 missionary drop. Going to be earmarked for this base down here with 13 Masons. That's the lion's share of what HonMonO has. He needs to be able to get over there. He's got 1 Trojan, but he needs to cycle this immediately, and he's not even responding to the minimap threat. He's going to lose Masons before he even knows what's happening to him. We started off with 13 here, and it's already down to 6 and falling. The Trojan drops out the Madrigals. Well, he only ends up unloading 1, and then he needs to unload the other. Oh, he's not even going to repair it in time. Oh, HonMonO not able to quite get the Korean-level micro that we were hoping for. Definitely a little bit off kilter. Well, he's going to be able to, blow that up and then immediately deploy the Madrigals. That was a nice little move, and Godweat went from, decidedly in the lead there in terms of, potentially able to get some more economic damage to just kind of bungling everything, which is honestly, it brings me back to that one match versus Wolfix. But I won't mince words anymore, guys. 25 workers to 8. Landlock halfway completed the low ground. He's got the gauntlet. He's adding a cipher for the other tech and a function. At this point, he can just go ahead and swing into, yep, the tirade on the way. There's 4 madrigals. Maybe something can happen with them, but it would have to be pretty heroic. It feels like he needs, 3 times as many madrigals to successfully kill everything here. Remember that one of these transports is even fully loaded. One thing that the Rove or the Emissary has that you might not immediately appreciate is that the Emissary can load units from afar, sort of like the Warp Prism in StarCraft 2 Protoss. Now, unfortunately for HonMonO, he just undeployed his units, and they took a salvo out onto the Emissary, but it didn't really matter much, and so all of his madrigals just got given away for nothing. He got 0 economic damage, pretty much 0 military damage. I don't see any other corpses here, yeah. So, he could have committed them into the Pilgrims over here, and then, yeah, they would have been struggling a little bit, but that was not what he needed to do with the madrigals. And while he has rebuilt a healthy amount of workers, his worker lead is not going, like his worker production advantage has been dwindling as that landlock completes. Function number 3 and Cosmoscope number 2 coming online here in a moment as the Cypher finishes up as well. This, to me, is looking pretty dire, and it looks like we are on track to have our first tournament Ascozi victory. Unless HonMonO does something absolutely miraculous, and it just, mathematically at this point, it doesn't seem quite correct. I do love the fact that Ascozi are, enabled in tournament play. That's some pretty sick stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Even if Godweat does lose this series to HonMonO, by the way, guys, we do have a guaranteed another Ascozi player in the tournament. That is going to be Doglived. And, Shopkeeper Dog did concede already, but had he not, it would have been really cool to see Dog versus Dog, you know what I mean? Now, Tirade is going to get cut down immediately by all the madrigals, but that kind of reveals that there's nothing in here in the main. And all of a sudden, you need to scoot those back up, but those Trojans are so wounded. Big lobotomy mine stuns, though. Hold on, maybe we can see some magic happen after all on the hold. And this can still be a game, but yeah, those mines are going to just stun all of HonMonO's madrigals that came in. He's got one more that's loose over there on the ground, and it's not helping at all. He almost was able to kill all those units in the bottom. If he had all of the madrigals in one spot, maybe it could have been different, but GG is called, and Monazite goes to the Ascozi. Well, I wasn't expecting that one, but I am very excited about what this means going forward, because that means we get at least 2 more maps between these 2 players. The Ascozi are not done yet. It's time for Game 3 between HonMonO and Godweat, and here we have Gilded Wall. This map is a good one. It's a port of Golden Wall from StarCraft 2, done by Jujic. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this one takes place, because Monazite is the one that you would think, like, it's banned, and then people would pick Gilded Wall, because it's the other weird map that people would want to ban. But here we have a different story. Our yellow Terran in the bottom left is going to be HonMonO, and our green Ascozi in the bottom right is going to be IAMtheWHEATofGOD. And oh my lordy, we have a very fast scout. Is this even a scout? It's not a scout. HonMonO has played lots of StarCraft 2, obviously, a StarCraft 2 pro player from Korea. This is exactly his style. Put a stockade over here, and he's just going to go ahead and proxy some stuff, I guess. Probably Hurricanes if I had to speculate, but we will have to see. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the epic moves that you can do on Gilded Wall, I don't think anybody's ever done them, at least not in a tournament game that I've seen. If I missed it, then I really hope that I can find it at some point. But these minerals in the back here can be mined out, and once they are depleted, they can be walked through. The same is also true for these minerals in the middle, but they do require a few returns to do so. So you can't just go send one worker there and then all of a sudden you're good to go. That being said, I don't know if this is going to be something that's on Godweat's radar. And he's fresh off his first Ascozi victory, being the chronological, canonical first Ascozi victory in tournament play. I'm sure his adrenaline is through the roof. So there's nothing back at home. The stockade, and then an anchor, and the float! The float! Okay, he's going to float the structure over, and Godweat is going to be none the wiser initially, but he is sending a rove across. I mean, like, what do you even do here? HonMonO's just going to go ahead and make a ministry? Like, What? He's got no defense and no scout for the fact that he's under attack. This is absolutely outrageous. I feel like there's no way this can work. He's also making a Hurricanes, but it's an anchor. What do you even do with that? Hold on. The Rove is starting to heckle the Mason that's building the Ministry. Probably best case scenario. A Fulcrum! That's going to take forever to get online, if you can even get it online. All right. Mason is going to be killed there. Now the anchor floats over. I mean, God, we must know that there's something really goofy happening over here. I guess if he lands the anchor and puts the Hurricanes in it, he can kind of like tear stuff down or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what's happening, guys. He pulls the boys to try to get that pesky Rove away, but he's not rebuilding the Fulcrum. He never retasked on it. Oh, it's absolute chaos. Loads up the Hurricanes in there. A Cyprian is on the way as well. And you know, the Cyprian is actually not blocked in terms of shots because the landlock took some damage there. So that's pretty big. He is going to try to get the Fulcrum back online. I mean, does it even matter? I guess he stopped the mining on the other side too. And HonMonO does have some money in the bank to keep making units out of his stockade. He's adding more in the form of the more Cyprians. He needs to actually get his Hurricanes onto the Rove. No, he's busy attacking the grandstand. What was he doing? He ends up lifting the Ministry and moving it away. The Fulcrum is canceled for more money. Locally, he can go ahead and load up that Cyprian, but he has no Hurricane. He has no more armor rend to deal with the landlock so that the Cyprian shots don't get blocked by something. And now the grandstand's going to finish. And ladies and gentlemen, our second Ascosi victory of all time. I love the idea, but it definitely needed some execution changes. It definitely, like if you told me what we've got cooking up here is, you know, a Hurricane Cyprian anchor rush off of a proxied stockade, I can kind of see how it could be done, but this is not how it could be done. This is not how you do it, boys. Pilgrims are running up on top of that Cyprian. The mining saber will harvest yet another this day. Holy shit. Guys, do you guys know that the Scepter and the Helion have the scrap passive where they consume the corpse of the scrapped unit? That's what the Pilgrims need too. They need to be able to scrap the units if they damage them. That's a really... you know what? Win or lose, doesn't matter. These two players have just made Cause Monarchy history by giving me an idea for a new passive for the Pilgrim. I can't wait to add that right after this cast. GG, boys. HonMonO has one more chance here in Game 4 of this series to take things up a notch, kick things up a notch, and see what he can do. Take us to game number 5, which will be Macroglia if we get there. Godweat is GLHFing his opponent, or I suppose responding to it, and going for the function, the fast function, even cutting a worker for the honor of doing so. HonMonO looks to be going mech again. His only time not going mech was that ridiculous stockade game we just saw from him, so that's a little bit weird. I guess it's been mixed results, right, if you think about it. He went mech game 1, and then it was like that weird island map where he went Madrigal. It was kind of cool. We're going back to basic, perhaps. I feel like he needs a little bit more than that. I don't know. I really think that had he gone bio, that would be more to his style. He knows how those units work typically. I mean, maybe not. We did just see the Hurricane Cyprian mishap where he might not have realized that the shot was not being blocked by the armor-rended landlock in the main base. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what's up with that. A lot of small errors went against HonMonO and gave Godweat the advantage. Now, this is an interesting setup here. We actually have a Rove coming for Godweat, and we also have another function. So this is a bit more of a rush. Like, Godweat smells blood in the water, and this is a 3-spawn map. So there's a little bit of a risk in doing this, because he is going to be slowing his economic development just a touch, but also, perhaps in some ways more importantly, slowing his tech development. We do have that first Vulture coming out. If this is going to be another one of those like double Vulture scrapyard builds, I do worry for HonMonO, because this will animate a lot faster than game 1 on Corrosion, which HonMonO did win. It was off the back of using the slower timer of the Radix-based army that Godweat made. Roves are going to scout the map, getting very, very close, and immediately he knows, okay, my opponent is not in the bottom left. I can go straight to 12 o'clock, and we can rock it that way. HonMonO puts down the third Fulcrum. I see the second Vulture. I don't see any other units being made just yet. I guess it's a little bit early. Got a lot of Vespine, actually. He could be going for like a Goliath or something. which I wouldn't hate versus, low damage units like the Rove, but this does look to me like, yeah, the scrapyard comes down. So it's going to come down to the initial micro, but there's 4 Roves, guys. This is a ridiculously early round in favor of Godweat in terms of that production. Now, those are really important stuns, but he does end up stunning his other Vulture. One of his Vultures does get stunned, and you can teleport. When you do that blink, you can interrupt incoming projectiles and make them miss, depending on the timing. We'll see what the timing is with our players here. Another round of Mind Stuns. Well, he really needs to pick that first Rove and drop another one. He's not producing other units, or is he? No, only now 1 Vulture is halfway complete, and there's so many more Roves on the way. Guys, HonMonO needs to pull the boys now, and his Blackjack production is beginning. He's got 3 of them on the way. And 1 Vulture is done. Only some of the Masons are being pulled off the line. I think you need everything here. And immediately that Vulture can't lay a single mine. HonMonO, oh dear. This is facing elimination if he doesn't end up mounting a defense, and they go right after those Blackjacks, which start shooting a lot slower once they get dropped below half HP. Scrap drones start to fall to pieces, and the mine micro there, the jumping, is more than enough for Godweat to drive the last nail into the coffin. I don't think South Korea is going to be getting very far this time, ladies and gentlemen. That's the last of his Blackjacks, and he's just being spawn camped, Rove after Rove. HonMonO cannot believe he's been defeated by a race that doesn't even exist in StarCraft. GG. The Escozi have won a series in our very first opener in Tribunal number 4. Lads, I was not predicting this outcome. Congrats to Godweat for making it through, and as previously mentioned, as his next round opponent would have been Shopkeeper Dog, but Shopkeeper Dog did end up bowing out. That means that we are looking at a Godweat Canadian Escozi directly into the semifinals. Yeah, you can talk him up, talk about how he's so lucky, what a lucker dog, and you're right, but he did beat HonMonO, so fair dues there. GG.